touched on everything but little boys. And that's not a stab at Michael, that's just a metaphor.
I've never attacked another fellow artist. Great artists don't do that.
In 2004, Eminem did something no other artist dared. He dissed Michael Jackson. Not just with a line or a punchy lyric, but a full-blown parody video mocking the King of Pop's face, his past, and his scandals. It was brutal, it was bold, and it went viral. But here's the twist. Michael Jackson didn't respond with a song. He didn't call out M on stage or even speak his name. Instead, he stayed silent, then made one of the most savage business moves in music history. While Eminem laughed at Michael on TV, Michael bought the rights to Eminem's music. Literally. This wasn't just a comeback, it was a takeover. And in the end, Michael Jackson became the only person to beat Eminem in a rap battle without saying a single word. By the early 2000s, Eminem wasn't just a rapper, he was the rapper. Raw, unfiltered, fearless. No one was safe from his lyrics, not pop stars, not politicians, not even icons like Michael Jackson. In October 2004, Eminem dropped a track called Just Lose It. At first glance, it seemed like another one of his playful, over-the-top parodies, but to many, it went too far, especially for Michael. The music video mocked Jackson's legal battles, plastic surgery, and even the infamous Pepsi commercial accident where his hair caught fire. Eminem dressed like Michael, danced around a courtroom, and added sound effects of children screaming and noses falling off. For a man who had spent years under a brutal spotlight, this wasn't funny. It was a direct hit. Michael's reaction? Quiet, but not passive. In a rare interview with Steve Harvey, he said he felt very angry and called the song demeaning and disrespectful. He added, "I've been an artist most of my life, and I've never attacked a fellow artist." BET took Michael's side and pulled the video from its network. Celebrities like Stevie Wonder called the diss kicking someone when they're down. It wasn't just controversial, it sparked a debate on whether Eminem had crossed a line. But while the world was caught up in the drama, Michael Jackson was already planning something else, something way beyond music videos, interviews, or public outrage. Because if there was one thing Michael understood better than anyone, it was ownership. And his next move would shake the industry to its core. While the media kept spinning the beef and fans waited for some kind of musical response, Michael Jackson did something completely unexpected. He stayed silent. No diss track, no press conference, no lyrical retaliation. But behind the scenes, Michael was making phone calls, strategic ones. He didn't want revenge in the form of a verse, he wanted control. And he knew exactly where to hit Eminem the hardest: his music rights. See, Michael wasn't just an entertainer, he was one of the smartest business minds the industry had ever seen. Years before, he'd shocked the world by buying the entire Beatles music catalog. People thought he was crazy at first, until those songs started making him millions every year. So when Eminem mocked him on Just Lose It, he didn't reach for a mic, he reached for a contract. In 2007, just 3 years after the diss, Sony ATV, the publishing company Michael co-owned, acquired a massive music catalog called Famous Music for $370 million. And tucked inside that deal, Eminem's music. Every bar, every beat, including the very song that dissed him. Michael Jackson now owned the publishing rights to Just Lose It. Let that sink in. Every time Eminem performed it, every time a radio played it, every time someone streamed it, Michael got paid. It was the ultimate silent clapback. No curse words, no battle tracks, just cold, calculated ownership. And it left the industry stunned. On paper, it looked like just another business acquisition. In 2007, Sony ATV Music Publishing, co-owned by Michael Jackson, acquired Famous Music, a catalog previously owned by Viacom, for a jaw-dropping $370 million. And tucked inside that deal, Eminem's music. Every bar, every beat, including the very song that dissed him. Michael Jackson now owned the publishing rights to Just Lose It. For Michael, this was more than a smart investment. It was precision payback. Now, every time Eminem's songs were licensed or performed, a cut of the profits went to the very man he once mocked. And here's the kicker. Most people didn't even realize it, because Michael didn't broadcast it. He didn't rub it in. But music insiders knew, labels knew, and Eminem, oh, he definitely knew. Ownership of publishing rights is one of the most powerful assets in the music industry. It means you control how songs are used commercially, who profits from them, and how they live on. And now, Michael Jackson held that power over Eminem. That one transaction flipped the script. Eminem might have had the final word on the track, but Michael had the last laugh in the boardroom. No battle, no back and forth, just business. And the industry was left stunned at just how calculated the king of pop really was. But the story doesn't end there, because the motive behind it all goes even deeper.
To the casual observer, it might have looked like a petty flex, buying your enemy's music just to make money off them. But for Michael Jackson, it was never just about revenge. It was about respect. Michael had been mocked, ridiculed, and torn apart by the media for decades. The wacko-jacko headlines, the court cases, the rumors, he had endured it all. But through every storm, he held on to one thing: his artistry. And when Eminem came for that, when he made a joke out of Michael's pain, something snapped. Michael later said in an interview, "I've always admired Eminem as an artist, but I felt what he did was disrespectful." He didn't lash out. He didn't go off script. Instead, he followed a lesson he learned early in his career. The real power in music is ownership. He'd already shocked the world once before when he outbid Paul McCartney and bought the rights to most of the Beatles catalog back in 1985. That deal alone was worth hundreds of millions of dollars. So when Eminem came at him, Michael didn't get angry. He got strategic. By acquiring Eminem's catalog, he sent a quiet but powerful message. You can mock me, but in the end, you still work for me. It wasn't about ego. It was about reminding the industry that Michael Jackson wasn't just a performer. He was a businessman, a mastermind, a king in every sense of the word. And in doing so, he cemented his legacy, not just as a pop icon, but as one of the sharpest minds in music history. Still, one question lingered. What did Eminem think of all this?
You'd think that after being outplayed on such a massive scale, Eminem would have something to say. But here's the strange part. He didn't. Not publicly, at least. Eminem never released a statement, never addressed the deal in an interview, never dropped another diss track aimed at Michael. It was silence. Eerily similar to the silence Michael had used when the whole thing started. But behind the scenes, different story. Insiders claimed Eminem was caught off guard. He didn't know Michael Jackson was involved in the deal, at least not until after it happened. And when he found out, it stung. Some members of Eminem's camp tried to spin the narrative. They claimed that Sony ATV was a massive company and that Michael Jackson wasn't solely responsible for the decision. But anyone who understood the music business knew the truth. Michael wasn't just a passive shareholder. He was co-owner, a driving force. Eminem had mocked Michael on a global stage, and now, every time one of his own songs played, a portion of the profits went to the man he disrespected. Whether or not M felt humiliated, we'll probably never know for sure. He's always been private about industry deals, and he tends to keep business out of his bars. But one thing is undeniable. After that move, he never dissed Michael Jackson again.
And in the world of hip-hop battles, that kind of silence speaks volumes. Because if Eminem's lyrics were weapons, Michael had just shown he owned the entire battlefield. Michael Jackson didn't just silence a diss track. He shifted the entire conversation around music ownership. Before this, most fans didn't know what publishing rights even were. They thought the artist who performed a song automatically owned it. But Michael's power move exposed the truth and made it impossible to ignore. He showed the world that the real money in music isn't in the fame, it's in the rights. After that, artists started paying closer attention. Ownership became a bigger priority. Contracts were read more carefully. Publishing became a weapon. And Michael's strategy inspired a new generation of musicians to take control. Years later, artists like Taylor Swift would fight to own their masters. Kanye West would tweet screenshots of his record contracts demanding transparency. Prince had already famously written "slave" on his face in protest of label control. But Michael, he had been leading that battle quietly for years.